It's been about 2 years since I made the change from pastoring a small neighborhood church to my work as a YMCA director of Christian emphasis. In that time, I've been learning a lot about the YMCA's 170-year journey of faith-based inclusion. I'd like to share with you a little bit about what the YMCA of Greater Fort Wayne has been doing, teaching me, teaching our community about how to be the change and how to help bridge divides in our community. Me, I grew up a small town guy. I grew up around people that were a lot like me. I didn't see a lot of diversity growing up. Looking back though now, I realize it was there all along. When I moved from Canada to Michigan in the middle of middle school, I got a lesson in what it means to be an outsider and a newcomer. I really am grateful for Chad Schmig, who befriended me in 7th grade and helped me feel welcome. Since that time, I've tried to be the one who welcomes the newcomer in school and as a young pastor into my church. It became central to me and my faith. It's also central to the why. Our CEO, Marty Pastura, he had our board flesh out descriptions of our core values of caring, honesty, respect, and responsibility. And so for caring, our board chose the second part of the great commandment of Christ, love your neighbor as yourself. For me, this is how Jesus embodies the gospel in the world, and it's what I strive to do every day. Care for your neighbor as you care for yourself. Respect your neighbor. Welcome your neighbor, especially the ones from Canada. When our downtown Central Branch YMCA was remodeled a number of years ago, they took these old cornerstones and they put them in the front wall next to the main entrance as a way to remind our members of our heritage. This is a beautiful symbol of faith-based inclusion for our association. For RY, we're really inspired by the prayer of Jesus that you can find in the New Testament, the Gospel of John, chapter 17, verse 21. And it says, Jesus prays, Father, I pray that they may be one, just as you and I are one. So I love that this prayer for unity is a cornerstone for the YMCA. RY, we see Christianity and all religions really as a pathway to deepening inclusion in all dimensions of diversity. All religions, faiths, spiritualities are external dimensions, aspects of our lives that we in part choose, but also profoundly shape how we choose. So when I see the multicolored triangles in our logo, it inspires me to keep encouraging all our members to draw on their diverse religions and faiths as a way to build spirit, mind, body for all. I've met a lot of members in the Y who want to be more inclusive of other people's beliefs and faith traditions. In this picture, Elaine, she loves to pray for members in our Y. Beth does a great job of organizing retreats for our whole association. Josh, he keeps teaching faith-based inclusion through loving, caring, serving for all. We want all our members who come from different faith traditions, including all the different kinds of Christians, to understand and accept each other, and then be able to serve together in a welcoming, authentic, and faith-centered way. George Williams, John Mott, these are two heroes of the Christian faith and the YMCA. They are deeply religious men. They were motivated by their faith to save young men from urban vice. They built these Christian associations as a way to make a difference in their community. And for them, it was for the kingdom of God. Williams and Mott, they regularly called on fellow Christians to rise up and do something. So for us, as the Y, when it comes to faith-based inclusion, we can call on all our members and invite them to reflect and pray and then rise up and do something about the social divides in our community. So one of the ways that we've been trying to mend these broken bridges is through Welcoming Week. It's a community celebration that brings together immigrants and U.S.-born residents in a spirit of unity. And so in our Y, 4 of my friends came together and we formed a panel to discuss the ways that our Y could be more welcoming and inclusive to immigrants and refugees. These friends of mine, Y members, they all come from very different religious and cultural backgrounds, but they all draw on their faith traditions in different ways to sustain them in the work that they've been called to do in our city. Another way that we've been building bridges is through service projects. When I was hired, my CEO gave me a mandate. Let's put our Christian practices or Christian principles into practice through serving and getting as many members as we can volunteering in the community. We believe that this draws together very diverse members to serve in very diverse neighborhoods, and we're all motivated by different beliefs and traditions to be the change. After this particular raking project, a neighbor stopped by and said, "Why are you doing this?" I was like, "We're with the Y. We're here to love, care, and serve." And he spent the next hour telling me about the difference that the Y has made in his life and his son's life. Faith-based inclusion for our Y includes partnering with associated churches of Fort Wayne and Allen County. So this brings together about 140 different Christian congregations that come from very different cultural backgrounds. Through associated churches and Parkview Hospital, the Y collaborates in what we call clergy luncheons. So this brings together all sorts of different religious leaders from very different faith tradition backgrounds, and we meet about 3 times a year and have a meal together. But we do this as a way to love our neighbor, to build trust, to show our community how to be more welcoming and inclusive. We also do it to show our city how different religions can live together in peace and flourish for the common good. This is also how I got to know Ahmed and Zubair better. I had met Ahmed and Zubair at different community events, but it was through the clergy luncheons that we were challenged to get to know each other better. A few months after this event, Ahmed and I went out for lunch, and we talked about Welcoming Week. A few months later, we got together for lunch again and talked about a variety of ways of collaboration, including having an interfaith dialogue at our Y. Ahmed and Zubair then invited me to join their over 40 men's basketball team that was in a league that met at the Renaissance Point YMCA. So to be honest, I thought about saying no. But then I said yes, and I'm really glad I did. I mean, nothing brings guys closer together than playing basketball at the Y and losing by 30, 40, and 60 points. We're not very good. If it was easy to bring people from different beliefs and faith backgrounds together, I probably wouldn't be up here giving this talk. Part of my work is to help my CEO think about how do we go deeper with our mission, and that includes faith-based inclusion. This isn't easy work. I mean, sometimes I just want to shut the door on all the religious conversations in our Y. But faith is central to me and who I am, and it's central to many more members. We bring it with us when we go to the Y and everywhere else we go. So I believe mutual respect, or what we call the golden rule, can go a long ways towards shaping our conversations about how we listen in order to understand and accept. I have to tell you, the Y continues to inspire me and transform me when it comes to diversity and inclusion. This past March, I was able to attend the Undoing Institutional Racism seminar at YMCA of the USA in Chicago. So as a Christian, this broke me. It also began to woke me and stoke in me a renewed calling to listen as part of my desire to mend social divides in our city. I learned that I have a lot more to learn and unlearn when it comes to loving my neighbor and living out John 17:21. That seminar challenged my Christian faith. It challenged me to rethink how I live out my Christian faith in the Y. They might be small changes, but I believe kind of like the first flowers of spring, it's a harbinger of a new season. One of the changes we made was how we do our Good Friday breakfast. It's still a celebration in the community about hope and the resurrected Christ Jesus, but it's also a call to action for those who attend around the most daunting social divides in our community. It's a challenge for all of us to draw on the best of our faith traditions in order to be the change in our neighborhoods. For this year, for our Good Friday breakfast, we have the Reverend Charles Harrison. He's partly founder of the Indianapolis 10-Point Coalition. What they do is they bring churches and neighbors together to walk the most violent streets in their community. As they're out there praying, they're talking to the young men who need hope and need a good job. They need a better education. They need mentors. What they need is a community that believes in them. So we believe this grassroots effort, it's spreading across the state of Indiana, including Fort Wayne, and it's a way for people of all faiths to bring peace to our streets. So what does it look like for the Y to be the change and build more bridges with membership through faith-based inclusion? Aspire Church meets in our newest Y on Sunday mornings. A few months after they started, a Muslim family came early to work out at the Y before the church had finished up their fellowship time. And several other Y members had done the same. So the greeters invited Pastor Jason to come over and meet this young Muslim family that was there, and they had a pleasant conversation and shared some coffee together. Later that week, the husband saw Jason in the grocery store and came over and thanked him for the hospitality that past Sunday. And then he shared with Jason that was the first conversation, the first positive conversation that he and his wife had ever had with a Christian. This blew Jason away. Now they see each other all the time at the Y, and they talk a lot. That's the kind of change that we're trying to be, and it's the kind of bridge building that you can do too. A simple conversation over a cup of coffee in a welcoming atmosphere can change hearts and minds. To my fellow leaders in the Y, I invite you to let your different faith traditions be a source for listening, for loving, for caring, for serving for all. Thank you for listening to part of my journey of faith-based inclusion. At its best, religion, for me, has been roots and structure for loving my neighbor, for having the courage to forge unity, to have the perseverance to keep building bridges. In closing, I'd like to quote John Mott. He said this: "Let me emphasize the all-important point that Jesus Christ summed up, the outstanding, unfailing, abiding secret of great and enduring leadership, that you, who would be the greatest of all, must be the servant for all." This inspires me to be the change.